everybody. Okay, so this is what we are going to be doing today, right? Just a very quick introduction for those of you who may not know who I am. Okay, so this is me. You can call me Teacher Jason or Mr. Pang, whichever you're more comfortable with. I studied in NUS with a major in life science, which was just a fancy name for biology that the university wanted to call it. And I dabbled a little bit in psychology because I thought it was fun to learn about how the human mind works, how it develops, and how we learn and remember things. Okay, so that's just a little bit about myself. That I think it is fun to learn as long as it is something that you see fun in learning. Okay, but yes, a little bit about myself outside of the classroom as well. I just generally enjoy being in the outdoors and climbing and hiking and everything. This is not the most updated pictures that I have shared before. But yes, I just love being in the outdoors now. I also do play in a band as well. So that is something that I know some of you remember, right? I also in, and I hope that you are also finding joy in your CCAs as much as I did when I was in band as well. But yes, this is just a little bit of information to share with everybody over here in case, but I would think that most of us here are not current students, so just a little bit of information about what OVERMUGGED is and what we are doing here. These are all information that you can get online or just hear from your friends that are already studying with us. Especially for the Sec 4s, we will have the opportunity to do some practicals nearing your practical season also. Okay, it's just something to look forward to. And for those who are looking forward to joining lessons with you, if I do have some Sec 3s that have snuck in over here, that is fine. Even though reproduction is going to be something that mostly going to be a Sec 4 topic. But yes, I'll share this QR code with everybody again later on. So let's jump right into the purpose of today's lesson here, reproduction in humans. Okay. The notes and questions that I have prepared here are mostly going to be catered towards the pure sciences, right? But the content is going to be generally the same for any of our combined science friends that have joined us here as well. So good on you for looking for this opportunity to better yourself and better yourself in this topic. We're going to jump right into reproduction. We are focusing on reproduction in humans. And as you can see, it is broken up into a couple of parts here because the ministry has actually set out different learning outcomes for asexual reproduction, modes of reproduction, reproduction in plants, and reproduction in humans, right? Today's revision is just going to be about reproduction in humans. So let's have a quick look at the learning outcomes over here. And this is something that I believe most, if not all of us would have just ignored when we were doing our revision and looking at our textbook and our notes from school. But this is actually an incredibly important list that we should be looking at because this is what the ministry tells schools. Hey, when your students come for O-levels, they need to be expected to do this. And this is what even assessment book publishers, as well as obviously your school teachers do when they're preparing your exams and your WAs. So therefore, how do we use this? Literally, let's take, for example, learning outcome R over here. Okay. Right before you go for your O's, the question you need to ask yourself, can I describe what fertilization is? Can I describe the early development of the zygote? Can I state the functions of the amniotic sac and amniotic fluid, for example? Right. So this is how we use the learning outcomes, and this is included in every topic in my curated notes, which you can get when you join me in class. So without further ado, once more, you can call me Teacher Jason or Mr. Pang, whichever you're more comfortable with, and let's get into the meat of the topic. Now, first and foremost, the reproductive organs, I would say that this is a fairly straightforward part over here because most of them we have encountered already, maybe except for a few newer organs, primarily the prostate gland, as well as the scrotum and the urethra. Okay, these are the three that would stand out a little bit more, that we will have to learn in greater detail as compared to primary school, even a little bit in lower sec. Okay, right? So be aware of being able to recognize the side view as well as the front view of the organs over here. And everything is over here in the table provided with you already. So rather than just read off the table, which you have access to and you can read in your own time, can I just make sure we are looking at the, for example, the scrotum over here, the function. There's a thin layer of skin only. Now, a very common error is to say that the scrotum holds the testes outside of the body. Wow, that is a scary, scary thought there, okay? The testes are organs, they are still internal organs. They are still found within the body. What are they found outside of? The main body cavity, okay? Main body cavity, all right? So from the shoulders to the hips, that's where the main body cavity is. The scrotum is a thin layer of skin that allows the testes to be suspended outside of the main body cavity, not outside of the body. And this is to actually slightly lower temperature of the testes to ensure that sperm development can occur as optimally as possible, which prefers 1 to even 2 degrees Celsius lower than core body temperature. Okay. Another thing here is the prostate gland. The prostate gland, be aware of how we can identify them as well. The prostate gland. It is one of 3 male sex glands, but your syllabus only requires you to just say prostate gland only. Okay. And what do? They release a fluid that comes together. We call this fluid semen. Semen is what sperm moves through, is found in, and it nourishes sperm cells. It also ensures that sperm cells can move properly. Now let's have a look at this one. Anticoagulant. Anticoagulant actually refers to, let's think of it as anti-clumping, right? This enzyme over here prevents semen from clumping up because then sperm cells will not be able to travel as smoothly if it's moving through a jelly-like texture, or like think of it as lava. They're very hard to move through. But if it's like water, a little bit easier to move through. And the whole purpose of sperm cells is for them to be able to move through from the vagina towards the ovum in the oviducts as quickly and as smoothly as possible. All right, so this is the main purpose of this enzyme here. Okay, and yeah, so those are the 3 things that we are looking at here. The urethra, for the pure sciences, especially for example in excretion, we learned that the urethra is where urine is passed through from the bladder to outside the body. The urethra also allows semen to leave the body, but this one's super important. So only either semen or urine at any one time. It will never be both at the same time. Okay, so think of it as kind of like a switch. You close off the bladder side, means only semen can flow through. You close off the testis side, means only urine can flow through. All right, Hurley, I've just sent it into the chat once more. Got it, Hurley? Awesome. Okay. Now for the female reproductive organs then, what is it? For the female reproductive organs, this is the one that we are actually more familiar with, more so than the male reproductive organs. And there is good value in that because our syllabus actually focuses a lot more on the female reproductive organs, right? Because not the organ, the female reproductive system, right? So there's a lot more emphasis on the female reproductive system because most of the things are happening there, right? So super important, super important. Okay, what can we think of here? A heavy emphasis on estrogen and progesterone. Okay, heavy emphasis on estrogen and progesterone for the maintenance of the menstrual cycle. The other things we have learned in primary school already even, but maybe for the oviduct, can I emphasize that this is where fertilization occurs. It's not a function of the oviduct. A function is what I do. Fertilization simply happens in the oviduct, but it's not something that the oviduct does. So what does the oviduct do? It moves the ovum, or if fertilization had occurred, the zygote towards the uterus. So it achieves this function by 2 things: cilia and peristalsis. Cilia is found in yet another organ system. I hope that is running through your heads right now. But if I see you next time, tell me the answer, and I'll tell you whether you're right. Okay, but moving on, we have an incredibly important layer in the womb, in the uterus. I'm talking about the endometrium. Now, the endometrium is the innermost lining of the uterus, the innermost lining. So if we look at the diagram over here, it is going to be this layer over here, right? So on the innermost lining, right? The endometrium is the thing that thickens throughout the menstrual cycle and is shed and discharged through the vagina during menstruation. Okay? Super important. We are thinking of more vascular, ladies and gentlemen listening in to me right now. To be more vascular, V for vascular, V for vessels. And in the animal body, we are referring to the blood vessels then. So the endometrium has a lot of blood vessels. And I hope some connections are coming up in your heads right now, because we need to know that, oh, blood vessels, right? It's going to transport lots of wonderful things. It is also going to be transporting not so wonderful things. And it's important for the endometrium to be well vascularized so that we can transport a lot of nutrients to and remove a lot of waste from the tiny little organism that is developing within. Okay, but if nothing happens, if the fertilized egg, which we now refer to as a zygote, did not implant, did not embed itself and attach itself onto the endometrium, it will be shed and discharged. Okay. All right, so the gamete sex cells here, again, these are things that we have all learned since primary school and even lower sec. So I'm just going to be focusing on the tiny little bits here and there. Okay, so gametes here. For those who are my students or will be my students in the weeks to come and will be joining me, I will definitely be talking about all these things here again with greater emphasis. Right, so today is just a very brief exposure revision opportunity for all of you to see whether or not if today's you think is clear enough for you. Awesome. I'm glad that I could give you this tiny little bit of help, but look forward to sharing with everybody in greater detail for more parts of this topic, as well as revision for everything else lah. Okay, okay, this one. Relative size, relative. Now, it is incorrect to say that ovum is a very large cell. It is the largest human cell. Cells being cells, they are incredibly tiny. So please make sure. So within the human, the ovum is the largest cell. Within the human, the sperm is the smallest cell. Okay? Right, and we will talk more about the idea of being haploid next time in a topic of inheritance, which is required for both combined and pure. Not to worry about that. The special features for the sperm side, the flagellum, the tail-like structure, all of us should be aware of this already. It helps to propel the sperm throughout the female reproductive system towards the ovum, as I mentioned just now. But something new will be over here, the acrosome. Right, so take a minute to read this. And if we look at it properly, right, digestive enzymes to break down the protective layers. Actually, nothing too fancy. Digestive enzymes, we learned this in the topic of enzymes, right? It's going to break stuff down. Why does the sperm have to break stuff down? Because there are protective layers surrounding the ovum, okay? Think about it, the ovum contains most of the ingredients, resources, information, and everything wonderful required for life to begin. So it's quite logical that it's going to be protected. And the sperm, if it wishes to fertilize that ovum, will have to break through that barrier. Okay, so we call that structure the acrosome. It contains enzymes, right? And for our syllabus in O levels, both pure and combined, we simply just need to say protective layers of cells. We do not need to go into greater detail on what those protective layers are. And at this point, we have covered the basics, right? The structure of the male and female reproductive organs, as well as the male and female reproductive cells. Can I just ask everybody to place a thumbs up in the chat if you do not have any further questions? Please do me a favor and thumbs up in the chat if you have no further questions. Before I proceed, I do not want to just be going off like a train. Please give me your feedback. Show me that you are moving along with me before I continue. Alrighty, thank you for the thumbs up and the smiley face. I appreciate that. Gives me an opportunity to drink water as well. Menstrual cycle. Now, I would say that this is the most important part of this topic because it is also, in a way, the one that is a little bit more complex one. So let's work on it together. I put down in the notes there, talking about puberty, but it's a very small section in our syllabus only, learning about it. But it's not a small thing in life, I'm sure we all know that already. Okay, so the maturation of the reproductive organs. Okay. All right, okay. So what we're doing over here, we are look at this one sentence over here. Right, the entire menstrual cycle is most easily understood as the alternating of these two key processes, menstruation and ovulation. Okay, menstruation and ovulation. Right. So if you look at just this one graphic over here, menstruation, the first day of menstruation marks the first day of the entire cycle. Okay. And ovulation marks a typical halfway point of the 28-day cycle. Okay, marks a typical halfway point of the 28-day cycle. So why 28-day? But at this point, I need to make sure everybody understand this properly. I think most of our friends here online would understand this as well. The menstrual cycle is very, very varied. Every woman on earth, well, at most, right? Most healthy women on earth here will experience the menstrual cycle, and it will be a typical, we're going to give you a ballpark estimate of 28 days, and that is a standard we use in our syllabus. Just like sunrise, sunset, we put 6 to 6 or 7 to 7. Just like room temperature, we put 25 degrees Celsius. Just like we put 37 degrees Celsius for body temperature. But these are all just standards that we set only. Everybody, you and I, you and your friends, you and your family members all have different actual values, isn't it? So that's same for the menstrual cycle as well. Okay, so but because of this huge variation, we are setting it as 28 days just to make sure that we can study more simply, right? It's a standard of 28 days. Okay, but super easily affected by 3 values. So please make sure you're following along with me: diet, stress, health. Okay, first one, very simple. If you are not properly giving your body the nutrients it needs, it is going to focus all the nutrients it has into being healthy. Okay, as important as reproduction is to the continuation of the species as a whole for the population, individually, the reproductive system is not like a survival based kind of thing. Okay, the nervous system is needed for survival. The digestive system is needed for survival. Respiratory, transport, all these kind of things. But the reproductive system is not required for the survival of the individual. So therefore, if a person is not properly eating and consuming the nutrients he or she requires, the menstrual cycle is going to be put on a back seat, lower priority. Stress is not easiest, right? as we are going to see in the next few minutes here, the entire menstrual cycle is heavily regulated by hormones. And so therefore, stress is something that affects the hormone levels in the woman's body as well. So it is going to be something that will be affected if you're super stressed. Okay, so that's just something we need to be aware of lah. Okay, so we are looking at when the levels of the hormones, the ovarian hormones, referring to the hormones that are produced by the ovaries, are affected, the duration and the days in which these two key events occur will also change. Okay, so it could be day 1 to even day 2, menstruation. Then afterwards is the next few days of the cycle already. Or day 1, yes, but then maybe ovulation here is always very varied. But like I said, too difficult to study really, so we choose standards. 1, 14, 28. Definitions, so important. Definitions, so important. What is menstruation, right? It will do you good to remember the definition, as with all subjects, right? Chem, bio, physics, or everything that got definitions, please remember them. It is the breakdown and the shedding of the endometrium, right? And it is either you say expelled or discharged or leaves the body, right? That's it, very straightforward. What is ovulation then, right? It's the release of a mature ovum. I urge us to use the word mature as well as the word ovum instead of the word egg anymore. From the ovary into the oviduct. It's only one ovary per cycle. All right. So these are the norms, the standards. Okay. So now we go on to the hormones. Okay. We have estrogen and progesterone. Please keep in mind, people, this is spelled with but pronounced without the O over here. Similar to the esophagus, which is the gullet, right? That connects the mouth to the stomach. Esophagus, estrogen, right? This is just the British American spelling kind of thing. But if you choose to if you're really gonna tell me that one letter O is too much, you want to use letter E, then make sure you spell the American spelling for every single thing. Okay, so estrogen, progesterone, but regardless of the spelling, it refers to the same thing here. I've written down 4 functions of the hormones here, 2 for each. I want to focus on the middle 2. Have a quick read on these 2 functions, please, and you will see that it is about the endometrium. So, whenever I teach this, I always focus on 3 words. I always focus on 3 words for these 2 hormones functions: repair and growth. Maintains the thickness. What is estrogen for? Repair and growth. What is progesterone for? Maintain the thickness. Of what? The endometrium. Right? So with this in mind, estrogen is repair and growth. This means that more estrogen, the endometrium is going to grow thicker. Oh, progesterone, maintain the thickness. More progesterone, thickness maintains. Oh, I hope you all are looking at my video as well, because I gesture a lot in class. I'm doing actions. All right, okay. But yeah, right. So please make sure to glance at your handout and my shared screen, as well as me as well from time to time. Okay. All right. So but this is not to say that points 1 and 4 are not important. I just want to focus on 2 and 3 for today's session very quickly lah. All right, so how does this play into the graph on the next page? Wow, what a glorious looking graph, the next page over there. And with all topics, with all subjects, graph reading very important. But this graph a little bit more fun It's not such a boring X, Y, and then what X square exponential stuff. But let's have a quick look here. If you can let me your eyes on screen, it is nicely colored over here on my screen. I want you to see the estrogen graph. is double peak. So there will be graphs that, especially MCQs, which one is estrogen, right? So double peak is estrogen. Can we think of that, please, right? Have this phrase that I'm saying right now etched into your mind. Double peak is estrogen. Progesterone peaks after ovulation. So you can see on my screen, the red graph is for progesterone and it only peaks after ovulation, while estrogen is a double peak. So one before, one after. Okay, one before, one after. Right. So again, let's think about the functions that we talked about just now. Estrogen is for the repair and growth of the endometrium. And as you can see in the first few days here, after day 7, after menstruation, estrogen levels increase first. This helps with the repair and growth of the endometrium. Okay, so more estrogen, endometrium grows thicker. Okay, upon ovulation, this means that, look at that, it is steadily growing thicker already, right? There's a small dip in estrogen levels because we'll talk about that later on. There's a small dip, but it is not going to like, then go down again. What happens here is it will continue increasing, progesterone levels then kick in. More progesterone, the signal to say, hey, can you stay there, please? That's what progesterone does. Hey, can you stay there, please? So therefore, okay, I stay here. What happens at the end, though? What happens at the end? Both hormones reach a critically low level. Both hormones reach a critically low level. So without the signal that says grow, without the signal that says stay there, the endometrium crumbles and falls. That is menstruation. And like we just shared just now, marks the first day of the next menstrual cycle. And essentially, that's kind of like the gist of this topic. That's kind of like the gist of this topic. For the table that follows at the bottom of this page here, just a little bit more information that I want to share with you. Let's have a look at this part that I've highlighted here. The ovaries restrict the maturation of potential ova, ensuring that only one ovum will be released. Meaning, from the whole bunch of potential ova that start maturing, only one will be allowed to reach full maturation to be released. What about the others? The second largest, the third largest, the fourth, so on and so forth. Okay, this is what happens. They will be broken down, and then actually, the nutrients are so important. They are precious resources for the body. The body will reabsorb those nutrients. Okay, they'll break down those potential ova and reabsorb them back. Okay, how is this done? So it's actually this dip in estrogen levels over here. Okay, this dip in estrogen levels. And then at the peak, it will start to dip. But this peak, right, actually triggers ovulation on day 14. Everything takes time. So therefore, peak estrogen levels stimulates ovulation to occur. Now, at this point, maybe some of our friends online here have already learned this topic a little bit, and you may have been introduced to these two things. What am I doing? These are two more hormones that are super important in the human reproductive system, the female one especially, luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. These are not strictly required in your syllabus, but some schools have been known to teach this and even test this in your school papers or even in your prelims. Reason being twofold. First one, it is quite hard to talk about the menstrual cycle without those two hormones. It's possible, but it'll be better if we teach those two. But number two is because O-levels got test before also. O-levels got test before. right? So it'll be good for us to know of this. But we do not have the luxury today. I will be teaching talking a little bit about FSH and LH next time in my classes. But for now, if you are interested to know more about this, go ahead and look up these two hormones. I'm just going to write down very quickly over here for us to just have a quick look. Luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. All right. Last but not least, let's have a look at the last row over there on day 28. Okay. So this is what I mentioned just now. Once they decrease, the signal that says, hey, can you grow thicker, please? The signal that says, can you stay there, please? Once these two hormones decrease to a critical level, these two signals are gone. Nothing keeps the endometrium there, and therefore shed and discharged out of the woman's body. And that is menstruation already. Okay. How so? Let's have a quick look next to the next part there. For the fertile and infertile phases, this is something that is important and very commonly tested. We actually just need to find ovulation first. Okay. The fertile and infertile phases. What is the fertile phase? Best chance of becoming pregnant. But it's not a guarantee. It is not that, hey, if the couple has sexual intercourse during the woman's fertile phase, they will get pregnant. Absolutely not. Okay? It is just a game of chance, a higher chance, right? If the couple is planning to start a family, having unprotected sex during the fertile phase increases the chances of them getting pregnant. And because of this one, having unprotected sex during the infertile phase does not mean that there will not be any pregnancy. Okay, it may still result in pregnancy. But why? Why is there this idea of the fertile and infertile phases there? Okay, what is the idea of this over here? We are actually always looking at ovulation plus minus days. All right, so it's always about ovulation. You're gonna plus minus a few days. My suggestion is always plus 2 minus 2. It's an easy number to look at. But like I shared earlier on, numbers in this topic are very, very wavy. Okay, it can vary from 2 days before, 3 days after, or even 1 day before, 2 days after. The idea is still always about the day of ovulation. It is always about the day of ovulation. It is still key. So let's talk about the days after ovulation. Why is that considered fertile phase here? The ovum is there, The ovum can wait in the oviduct. If a sperm arrives, fertilization. That's it. Okay, but the before is the one that is slightly different, that we are required to understand a little bit better here. Before ovulation, that means no ovum yet. Why consider fertile? So, if semen were deposited on day 12, they arrive at the oviduct on day 13. The moment ovulation occurs here, they are ready. They are ready to strike fertilization. Okay, so this explains why before and after, fertile phase, fertile window. Okay? Okay, people, give me a sec. Just need to swap locations for another teacher because his class is a little bit larger. What can I do? Okay, wait, give me a sec first. Okay, come. Looks like a vlogging kind of thing. You're just gonna move around here with me. For those who are not familiar with our centers, this is our Coven Center. Fine. Ads. Okay. Okay, back. Let me get in position. Okay, hi people. All right, all right. Okay, I'm not sure about this. Can y'all still all help me, do me a favor? Can y'all still see and hear me clearly? Thumbs up, please, so that I'm aware. Can y'all still see and hear me clearly? Awesome, thank you, Jessica, Helen, Clarice, Giselle. All right, thank you. Let's continue. Oh, it's a smaller classroom room now, so I don't need to speak so loudly. Okay. But yes. But that is fertile and infertile phases in a nutshell. Fairly straightforward. No need to worry too much about it. Okay. Moving on to fertilization and implantation. This one, actually, a lot of wonderful things that I would love to share with you. But not for today. Not for today. Most importantly, definition of fertilization first. Definition of fertilization, right? So this is something we learned since primary school, so no need to worry too much about it. But then implantation, implantation, if you follow the diagram over here, is over here. It's the last step. Last step over here in implantation. So throughout the movement of the zygote, we have ovulation first, right? The release of the mature ovum. Here we have fertilization. So at this point, it's already a zygote. As it is undergoing cell division, it is also being moved. Now, this time I use the word being moved, it's not that it moves. Okay, the ovum is not able to move on its own, and this is a very straightforward comparison with the sperm cell. It can move on its own. Okay, so as the zygote is undergoing cell division, it is also being moved by the oviduct towards the uterus. Okay, and when it arrives here, it finds a nice little piece of well vascularized. I hope you remember what I shared earlier on about vascular, right? In a thick layer of vascularized endometrium for it to implant itself into. Now, if you look at my hand over here, right, as I shared with everybody earlier on, glance at my video as well because I love to gesture. Now, if you look at my hand right now, the one with the watch, right? If this is the endometrium, and if this no watch hand is the zygote, right? This is not implantation. This is implantation. It is this very aggressive reaching into idea of implantation because you need to understand there are blood vessels in the endometrium, and that is what this embryo is trying to get into. It needs to connect with those blood vessels so that it can obtain those beautiful nutrients from those blood vessels that it requires for its growth. Okay, so that is implantation. And what comes after implantation? So, right, thankfully all has gone well up to this point, and hopefully it continues going well. And that is where we have pregnancy. Now, humans are placental mammals. Right? The placenta. Now, this is immediately one difference with the pure and combined sciences. The placenta No, the amniotic sac and amniotic fluid are not super critical for the combined sciences. All right, for the combined bio there, let me just pull out the learning outcomes for that very quickly. And make sure we're talking about the correct things. Yes, right. So the placenta, the amniotic sac, and the amniotic fluid that we're going to discuss now are not required for combined science. But for other friends who are taking combined bio and have tuned in here with me, I absolutely appreciate you learning about this here because hey, you know what? It may give you a very big advantage with your peers that are not learning about the placenta and amniotic sac and fluid. Okay, with that aside, let's move on. I have a quick look at this diagram over here. A very common error is mislabeling. A very common error is the mislabeling of these structures here. Okay, please keep in mind, especially for these two. As the name suggests, can you think of it as a water balloon? Can you think of it as a water balloon? Okay, we have a water balloon with a baby inside, right? The balloon itself is the sac. The water is the fluid. Just now I say baby, right? Nah, that should have gotten your attention because B for baby, B for born, right? So only when that organism has been birthed out of the mother's body do we call the organism the baby. So throughout the development within the womb, the organism is referred to as the fetus. All right, once more, this is the American versus British kind of thing here. Without the O, that's the American spelling. Okay. All right. That out of the way. The entire uterus is the organ that holds the developing fetus. Now, placenta versus umbilical cord. Now, the placenta is an entire organ there, and the placenta is the only organ. It's the only organ in the female body that is temporary. Well, pretty cool, Every single organ in the human body is permanent except for the placenta. And the placenta is an organ that only develops in preparation for a pregnancy. All right. And that's cool thing number one. Cool thing number two is actually that the placenta is a joint effort. It is an organ that is developed as a joint effort with the mother and the fetus. The placenta contains cells from the mother and the fetus. Pretty cool stuff. Right, but other than that, everything else will belong to the respective organisms already. Anything outside of the placenta is the mothers. Everything within is the belongs to the fetus already. So if you think about that, the umbilical cord belongs to the fetus lah, quite obviously. Okay. All right. Now remember this, and this is what results in. This is what results in menstruation. Okay. So how does the female body prevent this from happening then? How does the female body prevent this from happening then? Right, this is where it's not the female body that prevents this. It is actually the fetus. It's actually the fetus that does this. Now, that's quite an amazing thing that happens over here. Okay, right? Because once it has implanted, right, the embryo actually secretes a hormone. It releases a signal into the mother's bloodstream to say, hey, feed me, hey, nourish me, hey, protect me. Okay, so it releases the hormones to tell the ovaries, hey, can you release more estrogen and progesterone? Now, at this point, a very common question is, how do the levels of estrogen and progesterone change upon implantation? So let's have a quick look at this diagram over here. Drops, right? But if implantation occurred, what will happen? It will remain high. Okay, please keep that in mind. It remains high. All right. Levels of estrogen and progesterone remain high if implantation occurred. Now, as the placenta develops and matures, like I said, it's a joint effort for this to occur, right? All right, okay. So for the placenta, as I shared earlier on, it's super important, but it also plays this pretty cool role. It also produces progesterone. It also produces progesterone. Right? Pretty cool. It also produces progesterone here. And then it helps with this. Because as much progesterone and estrogen that the ovaries release, right, it's not going to be enough. Okay, it's not going to be enough, right? So the placenta comes in. The placenta comes in to do this role. And the placenta actually is a humongous organ. The placenta is a humongous organ. Okay? Right. It's a disc-shaped organ, and as I shared earlier on, embryonic and maternal cells. Okay? Okay, all right. So now look at this beautiful diagram over here. It shows us the individual layers of the placenta and how it interacts with the umbilical cord right here at the bottom, as you can see. What I want to bring to your attention is, can we see that if I say embryonic means it belongs to the embryo, the fetus lah. Okay. Now, if you are a blood blood cell in the bloodstream of the fetus, you will never come into contact with the blood of the mother. Maternal and fetal blood will never come into contact. Okay, maternal and fetal blood will never come into contact with each other. So how does this occur then? Now, I hope this is ringing some bells in our heads right now. We first learned about the word villus in the topic of digestive system or the small intestine. This is where we learn about absorption and how absorption efficiency is increased. And that's exactly what we're thinking of. Can we look at this? Can we think of like a gloved hand? Can we think of a gloved hand? Right? Okay. So the gloved hand is part of the maternal system here. It allows the umbilical vessels to reach into the gloved hand. So instead of just maternal blood vessel and then fetal blood vessel, 1:1 direction like that, right? But now instead, so many embryonic blood vessels can interact with the maternal blood space all at once. So it is like you dipping your hand into the swimming pool water. Okay, this is where you can dip in there. A lot more exchange can occur. All right. So then maternal blood enters, maternal blood exits. There is no direct connection, no direct interaction between maternal blood and fetal blood. Okay, and so placenta, this is the entire placenta, isn't it? Placenta is where exchange occurs. What's umbilical cord for then? Umbilical cord contains blood vessels. So the idea here is transport. Placenta is for exchange. Umbilical cord is for transport, only for transport. Now, I hope you remember from your lessons in transport in humans, A for artery, A for away from the heart, but as the name suggests, it belongs to the fetus. Umbilical belongs to the fetus, meaning the umbilical artery transports blood away from whose heart? The fetus's heart. Okay, which means the artery is bringing blood over here. Have a look at this. This paragraph explains to us what materials are brought to the placenta, what materials are brought to the fetus. And logic would suggest that, hey, the good things are going to go to the fetus, the bad things are going to go to the mother, right? The mother is going to help the fetus expel all those horrendous stuff. Okay? And as I shared earlier on, maternal and fetal blood are no mixing. There's no direct connection at all. What does this help with? Why cannot mix? Have a look at this. I hope you're remembering this agglutination. Blood typing. Okay, so even for the Yeah, okay, so there's no mixing for blood typing. But this point over here, this point is important for both even our combined science friends. Maternal blood vessels obviously larger, but more importantly, the mother's heart is obviously much stronger. It's going to be able to contract more forcefully, and this results in a much higher pressure in maternal blood vessels. So the blood coming in over here is going to be at a much higher pressure than any of these fetal vessels can handle, right? So it prevents the higher blood pressure of the mother from damaging any of the weaker embryonic blood vessels. Alrighty. Last but not least, amniotic fluid. Last but not least, amniotic fluid. Gestational period is just the period of pregnancy, right? For humans, it is an approximate 40 weeks. Most placental mammals have a very, very set gestational period with a few variations only. So, for example, anything before 38, it will be considered preterm, right? And that can pose some dangers to both the fetus and the mother as well, if the fetus has to be delivered before full term, okay? Also, the organs are not like properly developed, and therefore this is where we have some neonatal units in the hospital where tiny, tiny little infants have to be hooked up to machines to help them to survive because the organs haven't developed properly yet. Okay, but yes, these 5 points over here should be a fairly straightforward thing here. Remember the whole water balloon thing idea here, right? This water maintains a stable temperature in the uterus. So imagine how cold you or how hot or cold you feel when you walk into rooms with different temperatures. But we are able to sweat, we're able to move, let's fan ourselves here. The fetus cannot. So the amniotic fluid ensures that the fetus will not face such a huge changes in temperature. Okay. Keeps the uterus expanded. Now skin stretches and it will go back. So skin always wants to go back to its original shape. And the growth of the fetus within actually tries to push the skin out. And what's the skin doing? Push back, right? So the fluid ensures that the fetus has enough space to move and grow. Well, pregnant mothers are encouraged to exercise. Pregnant mothers are encouraged to exercise. So therefore, this ensures that the fetus isn't like rattling inside the womb so vigorously. It's more of a soft bouncing of the waves, Soft bouncing of the waves. All right. So this is similar to this, the expanded thing, very straightforward. And these 4 points functions throughout pregnancy, but this last one is only during labor. Only during labor. So got to keep in mind such questions. We have seen questions before that say the functions of the amniotic fluid during pregnancy. And if students wrote the last point over here down, you will not get a mark because it is not a function during pregnancy. All right, so please get in mind, be aware of that. I will talk more about this next time. But yes, once more, let's do a quick check-in. Thumbs up if we are more or less able to follow along with me over here. Thank you, Giselle, Jessica, Steve Lin, cool name Helene, Clarice, Priscilla, Ming En. All right, awesome. Thank you, people. Let's move on. The last part, I'm just gonna move. I wanted to say breeze through and move through. I said breathe. All right, let's breathe through this very quickly. Human immunodeficiency virus and acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. I'm very glad that we actually had that new topic added into our syllabus, infectious diseases in humans. Because then this helps us to understand this topic, this part in the topic more easily here. Please make sure you do not use these two terms wrongly. This is the agent, the pathogen, or this is the condition, the disease. All right, please keep that in mind. Okay. We'll talk more about that next time. But specific to HIV, all right, we need to know how it is transmitted. Three ways. Right? We have sexual fluids, blood, and breastfeeding, but I would say it's actually just two things: sexual fluids and blood. All right, because how is breast milk produced is through blood feeding into the mammary glands of the mother's breast. Okay, so it's still a blood. But for sexual fluids here, this one is the most important thing that your syllabus focuses on. Okay. Sexual intercourse without using a condom. Now, the condom is the only method of contraception that prevents both pregnancy and STIs. Okay, so there's something for us to be aware of. Simply put, right, if you know how it is transmitted, just flip it around lah. Okay, so it's fairly straightforward thing, but I thought that it would still be good for me to make a table to explicitly show you how to not how to explain how HIV is not transmitted. Okay, so but this is a very commonly misunderstood thing. It's not airborne or it's not waterborne. It also cannot be transmitted by animals, right? Like by your favorite pet licking your face or something. That's not how HIV transmits. It transmits other things, right? But not HIV. All right. Stages of HIV infection. Let's just very quickly look at this. We do not, very thankfully, need to dive into details of how HIV works. But I just wanted to put this diagram in for those who are interested to know. This is for you to read up on your own next time. I will share this in my regular classes as well. Okay. Now this one. All right, so this is the word we're looking for is to be asymptomatic, not asymptote. That is your math thing. Asymptomatic conditions are particularly dangerous because people will then therefore go about with their lives and they unknowingly and inadvertently transmit the disease as well. Okay. Okay, we'll talk more about this next time. But very quickly, this infographic is from Ministry of Health as well, and Ministry of Education even, right? So how do we more specifically prevent HIV, the spread of HIV? This is that don't have that mix of blood, don't have that mix of sexual fluids. Okay. And that marks the end of our very quick review of the content. We're going to move on to the questions here together. But as always, let's do a quick check-in. Are we all ready to move on to the questions together here? Friends online, come. Thumbs up, please, if we are ready to look at the questions together. All right, Theo, thank you for your responses. Question one: some female insects unfertilized eggs. Okay, so that is important for us to look at. If it's unfertilized, means no fertilization occurred, right? But it's still reproduction, meaning this one requires fertilization. Sexual repro requires fertilization. So if this one is unfertilized, it is not sexual already, you'll be the two asexual options. Now between these two, if there is no fertilization, if there's no addition, if there's no mixture of genetic material from another organism, it is going to be genetically identical. So therefore, answer is B. Yeah. All right. So here, this is something that I always like to do with all my classes. Whenever you see a diagram, please make sure the first thing that runs through your head is, hey, it'll be a good idea for me to identify all the labels here. Right? So I'm just going to offer everybody 30 quick seconds to just write down very quickly what these structures all are. And I would actually love it if all of you can actually go into the chat, right? Be it the type to everyone one, or just type to me. You know what? Just do like one is and 2 is something like that lah. Okay, so just can I just ask everybody to help me out with this here? Let's just have a quick check in by the chat instead of the thumbs up this time. Let me know what these 4 structures are, please. Say that the basketball is at least 10% bigger. So it must be more than 1.1 of x. I have one answer already. 1.1 of x, you don't understand to be equal. Oh, so close. So close. Giselle and Clarice, both of you have one incorrect answer only. Priscilla, you're right. Thank you. Anyone else who wants to give it a shot and drop me a text in the chat, please go ahead and do so now. I'm just gonna give everybody a couple more seconds to try this. Every school is the same. Always okay. Okay. But this is the only question that we'll do today. It is type of question. It's the only type of question. Nothing else. Anyway, okay. Okay, so there are 2 things that we need to do here. Okay. Number 1, I need to find out what is the distribution of 1.1x. Because I know what is the distribution of x. I don't know what is the distribution of 1.1x. Yes, Clarice. Well done. Good revision there. Awesome. Thank you, people, for trying. For those who did write in, thanks for trying. Right, we are going to look at this oviduct, ovary, uterus, vagina. Okay, so keep that in mind. Right, where would the cervix be? Is here. Right, keep in mind the cervix is the opening. The cervix is the opening. Alright, cervix is the opening. Okay. Alright, so first part over here, we are looking at sperms released during sexual intercourse. It has to be the vagina. And where does fertilization usually take place? It's going to be the oviduct. Answer is C. Okay, very straightforward. Awesome. Hey, the few of you who shared answers with me, thank you. Appreciate that. The whole questions, all these, everything. All right. What is going on? Okay, the rectangles are yeses. I believe it is a tick that could not be shown in this handout. I am not sure why it is like this. I will check in with the team on the back end. When I made this question, it was looking good. But yes, where does the zygote undergo cell division? Now, mitosis is a type of cell division. Where does the zygote undergo cell division? While it is developing. Now, we're looking at first 2 weeks, very early on in the development process. Okay? Very early on in the development process. Okay? The one cardinal rule is that it does not happen in these 2 places. There's absolutely no way that the zygote gets into the ovary. And if it gets to the vagina, then it cannot develop anymore. Okay, so it should be a no for these 2 things. All right, so it has to be a no and no. And this actually brings us to a C only. It can only be C. Okay, so oviduct, yes. Uterus, yes. It starts its development in the oviduct and then it is transported to the uterus, brought to the uterus. It does not go, it is brought to the uterus. All right, I'll say C. Let's go. Male reproductive system now, and they have given us a very, very important clue, gland X, right? As I shared earlier on, there are 3 male sex glands. We only require to focus on the prostate gland. And if you just recall the functions of the male sex glands, it allows the sperm to move. more smoothly. It provides the sperm with nutrients to function. So if it's removed, cannot move as smoothly lah. Fairly straightforward. Okay, let's go. Aha! Fertile period. Like I said, fertile phase, fertile period calculation, very important in our syllabus here. Oh. Alright, most likely conceived, meaning we're gonna count backwards. Having her period on 28, 29. So look at the question here. Start from 13th of August to 14th October. So it spans a few months. We have 3 months over here. Okay. She realized period on 29th of August, which is here. So that's day 1. Okay. So that's day 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. And ladies and gentlemen, this is literally what we should be doing. Okay. Did I lose my screen, people? Oh, my screen is back on. Amber, are you seeing my screen again? Awesome, thank you, Herlin. Alright, no idea why I lost my screen just now. But yes, right, for this kind of questions, literally do your homework, do your workings, not homework, workings. You find period here, you count days lah. When you arrive at day 14, give it a nice big obvious indicator because this is where we have ovulation occurring. And actually you can stop your counting because for fertile phase it is going to be +2 -2, that's it. So we are looking at 12 to 13. Any of our answers here? This 12 to 13 overlaps into 12 to 13. Our answer here is this. Look at that. Okay, that's it. Fairly straightforward. Yeah. Okay. Fairly straightforward this one. Alright, question 6 here is asking about HIV now. Fairly straightforward. Your correct wrong questions are easy. Okay, easy. Keep it simple. Can it be transmitted via mosquito bites? Absolutely not. Okay. A bit of an English error here. Causes the body to unable. Right. But simply put, B is our answer over here. Right. That is anti. Well, B is not our answer. I almost got tricked as well. It's not antibiotics. Antibiotics are medicines that we consume. The thing that our body produces is the antibodies. Okay. Wearing a condom prevents a person from getting an infection is not right because prevents means. But it's not very important. Please keep this in mind here. We are looking at chance only. Wearing a condom it decreases the chances of a person from getting infected with the virus. Okay, so the correct answer is D, and yes, right, HIV can pass through into the milk production cells in the mother's breast to be found in breast milk. Okay. Anybody need the website to the TI calculator? Just Google TI 4 online calculator. Okay, so once more, another identifying the structures kind of thing, fairly straightforward. Ovary, cervix, and vagina. Okay, so this is when we are identifying cervix. Okay, the cervix is the opening between the uterus and the vagina. Okay, infertile though, and question is saying with reference to the figure. So let's dive in over here. Let's dive in over here. Can I ask a lucky someone? Can I ask you to help me, please? Priscilla, Priscilla, could I please ask you to help me out over here? It would be great if you can just unmute yourself very, very quickly. I'm not asking you to scream and shout. Priscilla, what of this diagram do you think we can use to explain why this woman is considered infertile? Priscilla, are you able to help us with this? You know what? Herlin, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Herlin, are you able to help us with this? The ovary, yeah. What do you think about the ovary? What are you saying about the ovary? Amber, what about you? Can you unmute yourself and help me out very quickly, please? Amber. What is what can we see in this diagram that we can use to explain that why this woman is infertile? What can we see in this diagram that helps us to explain why she can be considered infertile? Amber, can see now?
No.
What's this?
Oh, so there's nothing on my screen.
Nothing on your screen. What, am I not showing it?
I mean, no, like annotation or this is wait, I know this.
Yes, you know this. Come on.
Until
What about the oviducts? Something's happening here. The oviducts are
like it's cannot come out.
cannot come out here. Okay, good enough. Thanks, Amber. Okay, so all right. So the idea here is the oviducts are blocked. All right. So neither thanks, Amber. Right, the any ovum release will not be able to travel past. Any sperm released will not be able to travel past the blockage as well. Right. So therefore, both sides helps us to understand why she is considered to be infertile. Okay, so this question is to be for that. Okay. All right. Can be treated using IVF. Where the please never use this. Right. They are going to be fertilized externally in a test tube. Okay, fertilized externally in a test tube. But now, fertilized over already. We're going to return it into the woman's body. Where should we return it back into? Where should we return it back into in the woman's body? Think after fertilization already, after all the cell division, wonderful things over here, what needs to happen? It needs to implant. And where does implantation occur? In the uterus. Right, so for this particular question, the X can be anywhere. The expectation along the walls of the uterus. Okay, I think even you put middle here also can. Right, just not too close to the entrance, not too close to the exit. All right. Is it? Process of fertilization and outline the early development of the embryo. Okay, this one very common question. As you can see, is a very common long question like this. Right, very common long question like this. Right. So for this portion over here, I urge you to look at our curated notes like this. Over here. Right. Talk about the cell division processes. Talk about what the oviduct does. Okay. So therefore, I'm just going to jot down some very quick points with you. Let's jot down some very quick points with you. And at the end of the day, I will share with you the answer. Right? Okay, so just jot down some very quick points with me over here. Process of fertilization is that I'm not going to talk about. Too simple already. I'm only going to talk about this. Okay, I'm going to talk about this only. Okay. After fertilization. Alright, okay. What happens to the zygote? Right, so key points over here, think about it. How can we expand upon this idea into a sentence to talk about the division? Okay. There are two things that we need to keep in mind to talk about how the zygote is moved through the oviduct. Okay. We're talking about what is the implantation everything over here before. Okay. And question is just asking of the embryo. And once you stop implantation, that is it. Okay. So you can see from these 6 marks, 1, 2, 3, where would the other 3 marks come from? Very straightforward. Talk about how, talk about where. That's it. Talk about how, talk about where. Alright, so from this 6 marks question, something I want to urge everybody to learn is not just for this question, for all questions, especially for bio. Do not be intimidated by the number of marks allocated. Take a breath, do it one at a time. Okay. Let's move on. I'm not going to go through every single question in this worksheet. When I was generating this worksheet, the intention is to just expose you to a couple of questions here. Especially for the recall questions, I'm going to leave it to you. So I'm going to skip. I'm going to look at this one. Ectopic pregnancies. Ectopic pregnancies. The embryo implants into the oviduct instead of at the uterus. Why is this cause for concern? Why is this cause for concern? Think about it. For implantation, remember just now I shared with you this one, my watch hand is the endometrium. Implantation is not this. Implantation is this. Right? It is very aggressive growing into. Right? It's trying to reach into the blood vessels in the endometrium. And that's okay because that's what it's meant to do. But if this happens at the oviduct, wow, quite scary, right? What are you gonna do here? Actually, an even worse thing, which is more common also, so implantation into the large intestines means it exits the reproductive system. That's gonna make that organ very starved of nutrients. Why? Now think about it. The zygote is an extremely aggressive organism that will say, feed me. I am the most important thing. So if it actually implants at the oviduct, right, it will steal nutrients from the oviduct. Okay, so this question is talking about, hey, in relation to the development of the embryo, so talk about implantation. If implantation at the oviduct, right, it's going to obtain nutrients from the blood vessels of the oviduct. What will happen? The oviduct now not enough nutrients there. Then from there, you expand upon it. Okay, from there you expand upon it. If this confuses you. Okay, let's move on. And this one. Okay, yes, for this one. Smoking. Harmful effects of smoke. We learned in the topic of respiration in humans. And I am trying to just combine that topic with this one over here. How is it going to be harmful for the fetus? Right? It's bad enough for the an adult to be smoking already. What does it do to the fetus? We are focusing on the same things actually of why it's bad for the an adult, we're just linking it further to the fetus. So the 3 harmful substances in smoke in our syllabus, we have tar, we have carbon monoxide, we have nicotine, right? All 3 can be used to describe the harmful effects of the fetus, right? So think about how it affects an adult. For each of these substances, each of the harmful effects, expand upon it. Okay, please think about it, expand upon it. Very straightforward. Ovaries here, what do they do? And then think about the question I asked you just now. If pregnant, how will progesterone levels compare to someone that is not pregnant? Progesterone levels should go down every cycle, but if pregnancy happens, progesterone levels will remain high. Okay, keep that in mind. Like I said, not all your, okay, please take note, your exam will not have so many long questions. I'm just putting a lot of long questions in here together. And yeah, so how we know she became pregnant? Because progesterone levels remain high past day 28. Okay, they remain high past day 28. And yes, okay, I think that is it already. Very simple questions like this. I will also be using some questions in this handout in my regular classes to look at together as well, to dive into greater detail with you so that we can all have a better time learning together. But yes, that's all the time we have for this very, very quick revision session here with me. I hope that you were able to actually distill some learning points from me for this topic. And if you want to continue learning with me over here, please make sure you reach out to our admin over there. But yeah, if not, I don't want to take out too much of your time for this very lovely Friday night. And to close off, can I just have your, before you run away, we're looking at for what subjects are these? No, combine, yeah, you know what? Just scan this. Just scan this. Okay, so if you want more information, please scan this or just reach out to the WhatsApp chat. The admin that you have already be contacting or in the email as well. But if not, thank you for spending your Friday night here with me. Again, my name is Teacher Jason or Mr. Pang, and yeah, thanks for spending your Friday night here revising this topic with me. I will see some of you soon. Bye, everybody.